Hello everyone, this is Tim, and I just wanted to do a little quick video response, I guess, to a message I got on YouTube from a person who was kind of asking about GM and player interactions and like the relationship and sort of like the trust that kind of goes involved. It's kind of involved with that, where you kind of have to trust your GM and your GM kind of has to trust your players, and sometimes there's some conflicts. Sometimes people come at things from a different angle. And I wanted to kind of just do a video response to that. So I wanted to read his message. So let's find that right here. This is from Crimson Tears with a Z 24. He's asking about DMing. Hey man, I noticed your channel when I was looking around for some commentary on DM/player relationships. I've been playing D&D 3.5 with my friends, and we've recently had some issues with our DM. He gets upset when he wants to change the rules in the books to something he wants instead. The example I had an issue with is his desire to make us wait until level 10 for prestige classes, despite the DMG not listing any requirement. The reason I have an issue with it is because he doesn't see the class that he wants to take as being overpowered for my current level. It's just because he wants us to have to wait. From what I've read in the DMG about what a DM is supposed to do, he's letting the party down. I want something reasonable, and he's declining for no reason. Am I out of place? And then he also writes, also, should the players not have any input into how rules are changed? It seems like people will get upset quickly if the only solution to every rule change is deal with it or find another group. That's in quotes. I'd appreciate your thoughts. So I wrote him back a response, and I guess I'll just read through it and then I'll just talk about it afterwards. Hey, I'm normally a DM/GM, so take this message with that in mind. I may also do a video about this, which I'm doing right now, when I get time. I've ran about 4 D&D 3rd edition 3.5 campaigns, and I've seen some pretty wonky prestige classes and feat combinations wreck a good game. I've even played one once, and I hated being that player. It was basically this like turning machine in a Ravenloft game, and I hated it. it was just too overpowered. I didn't like it. Um, I've also ran games that were only the core books because third-party content didn't always line up well with the standard books or the core books, or the prestige classes were vastly superior to the core classes. Like any game, a system tends to get power creep when more splat books are put out, and with D20, there was an avalanche of material that came out because of the open gaming license. Some of that's good, some of it's bad. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. I've also ran games where the core classes were the only options. I know from a player's perspective that can seem a bit boring, though. I'm talking about the DM here. I think he is worried that if he lets you have your prestige class, because he doesn't think that it's unbalanced, other players will want to play prestige classes that might be unbalanced. He might be a DM that has seen a game go horribly wrong because of bad prestige classes and or feats from various splat books or third-party content. I'm betting that is the reason why. It sucks to say yes to someone only to find out later it is going to horribly destroy the game, or maybe to have to ask the player to redo their character and kind of gimp them and kind of reduce their power. That isn't fun. No one wants to be the bad guy. All the above being said, a GM and player GM and players need to have a good relationship, and trust is part of that. He is spending a lot of time making material, reading over the rules, etc. So if the game goes horribly wrong, that is a lot of wasted time on his part. Players want to play a fun game and play with lots of new classes, prestige classes, feats, etc. Or maybe just have a quirky idea that they want to role play out in character. I tend to be the latter and less worried about the crunchy stuff, but that's just me. It shouldn't be his way or the highway every time. Even with the whole respect due to the GM thing, there should be some give and take between the players and the person running the game. After all, it's a game. It should be fun for everyone. Maybe there could be some compromise. Ask him if he has had any bad experiences with prestige classes in the past. I'm guessing that is the reason why he is making that ruling where you have to wait till 10th level. When I tend to change rules, and I do this a lot, I like to tinker, I give out the changes before a campaign starts. so the players know what to expect and plan their characters accordingly. If he is changing stuff all the time in the middle of a campaign, for instance, um, like after the campaign has started, it's not so good. But if he told you ahead of time, then I tend to side with the GM mostly. Again, I'm more of a GM, so maybe I'm biased. I would talk it over with him and really try to get down to the reasoning behind his decision. Try to have an open mind. Have you ever tried to run a game before? Maybe ask to run a game every once in a while, or a one-shot, to see if you have what it takes to be a good GM. Sometimes when you're behind the GM screen, it kind of changes your outlook on things. Not all the time, but sometimes. I've ran games where I was a very stingy GM, and games where I've given them everything but the kitchen sink. And the games where I give the players just about everything, I call it the kitchen sink games, they normally get out of hand very quickly. They break down, and they just go haywire. Not all the time, but just in my experience. Um, Sometimes you'll have one player that is basically a non-stoppable killing machine that's very difficult to challenge, whereas the rest of the party might not have broken their character to that extent. So I almost have to kill every other character just to challenge the one character. So it can get kind of out of hand kind of quickly if there's one character that kind of min-maxes things or chooses things that aren't as balanced with the other choices that the players have made. Power balance between characters is also important. No one wants to feel like another player's lackey. Hopefully that helped a bit. Feel free to ask me anything that doesn't make sense. I don't know. That was pretty much my response to him. And what I wanted to say is that there's a trust factor, I think, between players and GMs. GMs want their players to have fun, but they also don't want the game to get out of control. Some of us are probably control freaks at times, and I think that's where some of the bad GMing habits kind of come into things. I don't know. I've had bad experiences with prestige classes in the past. Not all bad. Some of them are just, they seem to give too much to the point where the core classes don't even look like a viable choice anymore. And I think that's why Pathfinder did what they did. They kind of beefed up the core classes so that the core classes are a very good choice still. But hopefully that helped you out, Crimson Tears 24. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. I know that sometimes GMs and players kind of butt heads, but hopefully we're all having fun, and hopefully we're enjoying the hobby as much as we could. All right, thanks.